Good morning, peoples. Yes, I am up and about in my usual spry self. One of the things I've always been very lucky about is I'm a fast healer. So yesterday I felt like shit, literally and figuratively. But just a day of rest. The shop was closed. It's Wednesday. So I just chilled and laid in bed, watched a little TV later on. And went to bed early last night, like 8 o'clock at night, super early. And everything's good. I feel 100% back to my normal self. So that's cool. Yay me. All right, December the 3rd, Thursday. A free man fears nothing. Well, there you go. I must be a free man. There is no obstacle you will ever face that you cannot overcome as long as you remain free. When you have the freedom of choice to pursue any alternative you wish, your only constraints will be those you impose on yourself. The United States has survived a civil war, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the presidential resignation, and assaults upon all of our institutions. That's happening now. We survive because our democratic form of government is based on a belief in the inherent goodness of humankind. It is a system based on optimism and hope, not on tyranny and oppression. Cherish your freedoms and celebrate your patriotism and loyalty. Be proud that you are a participant in the world's greatest experiment, democracy. Or not. I've done some lengthy diatribes on what I'm afraid is going to happen if the Biden-Harris thing goes through. Of course, with the mainstream media having a position in all this, having a stake, it's really hard to get information. I keep seeing Trump's withdrawing his lawsuits. It's all over. You know, Biden's a lock for president. It's done. They keep shoving that down your throat. But then I see alternative news outlets from Australia who are like, hey, not so fast. Trump won a major victory today in Georgia and this, that, the other thing. So as far as I can tell from here, it's still up in the air, despite what the media is telling the American people. Crazy friggin' times. I mean, I've never seen an election like this in 57 years on the planet. Well, Bush, when Bush got in with the whole dangling Chads thing and the recount and all that, that was pretty freaky too. But I don't think it was on this scale of the whole. Very, very weird. The swing states, and only the swing states, had a lot of anomalies in the voting. More people voting than registered, stuff like that. So we'll see if the court system can figure all this out and handle it in the next couple of weeks. I think it's got to be certified by mid-December. We'll see. Honestly, I don't have a horse in the race being here in Thailand. My future is based more on what happens with the government here. And there are protests here now, which there haven't been protests here in 20 years, but there's protests this year. And some people say it's the same guys who were protesting back in '97 and overthrew the prime minister and put their own guy in a puppet. And that was George Soros, the guy I was talking about a couple of days ago. So he did it here in Thailand, 1997. He bet $1 billion US against the Thai baht, like commodities trading, taking a position against a currency, betting it will go down. $1 billion is a pretty large bet. He was worth $12 billion at the time. So 1/12 of his entire net worth, he gambled on that. Pretty daring, huh? Next thing you know, there was revolts in the street. Even with the windows closed, that was super loud. Next thing you know, there's revolts in the street in Bangkok. Red shirts, just like Antifa has their little black uniform. The people here who Soros funded and backed wore red shirts. The people loyal to the king wore yellow shirts. And there was riots and scuffling and all that kind of stuff in the street. This is back in '97. And what finally got it for him was he bet $1 billion. That's a fact. Look it up on the internet. $1 billion US against the baht. And then he pulled some strings, bribed some people, and they took the baht off the American dollar. They had the baht pegged to the dollar. As the dollar went, the baht went. They took it off, and within a week it was down 60%. So that $1 billion gamble, while he's pulling the strings behind the scene, paid off hugely for him. And then he used that money to subvert other countries around the world. He's truly an evil fuck, and I just wish he would die already. He's in his 80s. He's a piece of shit. His feather in his cap is America. Once again, he said it. Research it yourself. Don't believe me. He's a sick fuck. He needs to be put down like a wounded animal for his own good, for our good. So we'll see what happens. I have no doubt he's behind a lot of the shit going on in America, because he's come out and said he wants to control America. That's the feather in his cap that he's never had. So eventually the guy that he put in, Thaksin, Thaksin, he was ousted and caught corruption, just like the Democrats with corruption. If you look at Biden's cabinet that he's putting together, a lot of them are, they were lobbyists, high-paid lobbyists working for corporations where they leveraged their government contacts for money. I mean, it's the same old bullshit. Business as usual in Washington. And I really don't think Americans wanted that. They just hated Trump so much that a lot voted for Biden, not really understanding what they voted for. So besides the high taxes and the who's going to pay for it and all that, it looks like corruption's going to be back on a large scale. And when you run everything, when you have the DOJ, when you have all the attorney generals, when you have the governors like they do, and you've seen during this whole pandemic, nobody's going to arrest a friend. Right? They're not afraid of getting caught because they have, comrades in all the high places. So that's it for today. Feeling better. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I'm like 95, which is huge compared to yesterday and the day before. I've had 2 days of hell. So, feeling good is good enough for me. I'm sure I'll be 100% sometime today, tonight, tomorrow, whatever. But I'm back, I'm up, around, had my coffee in the morning, gonna have my juice again. And that unpleasant episode is over, happy to say. So, once again, Napoleon, I'm so wrapped up in my little sickness, I didn't talk about Napoleon and his nugget today. A free man fears nothing. I kind of just talked about that with Soros, because once these people get in power, you're not free. And what I'm talking about, as I mentioned when I was in Chiang Mai, the governor of California, Newsom, he's putting very strict regulations, using the pandemic as an excuse. He's giving very strict orders like, you can't go here, you can't go there, but you can go here. You can go to restaurants, but you have to wear a mask first when you were walking to your table. Then you didn't have to wear it when you were sitting down to eat. And then he changed his, he's like, I'm not controlling people enough. Be my little puppets. Now you have to wear a mask when you eat and lift it up and take a bite, which is just ridiculous. And it's got half the population. Now, I don't know why it doesn't have all the population. This is what I can't figure out. But it's got half the population saying, what the hell? Why? How stupid is it to wear a mask? And before that, they were saying, why do we have to wear a mask when we're walking to the table, but not when we sit down? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So now he's gone that extra step and said, be good little sheep, follow what I say, I'm the governor. That doesn't give you the right to tell me how to live my life. Sorry. And, it's safety. We talked about fear. And if you're in fear, and if you're listening to a restrictive governor giving you these ridiculous mandates, like you can't have Thanksgiving, you can't go to church, you can't visit sick loved ones in the hospital to comfort them when they're dying, the minute they keep telling you can't do this and you can't do that, well, that's the opposite of what we talked about today, freedom. So hopefully we'll get our freedom back one way or the other. We'll see. I'm sitting on the sidelines watching. If nothing else, it's an interesting show. But I feel like there's a lot more at stake here for America, not just the high taxes. You could see what he's putting the cabinet together, and it's the same old situation. People like the Clintons got rich in office, and they want to do that again. They want to feed their buddies and get rich while we all suffer. Wow. Wow, that was awesome. Okay, I'll cut it off here before the rest of the cavalry comes through. When you can hear it through the damn windows being closed, it's an issue. Talk to you all tomorrow.